Welcome back. Still Daybreak Africa Features tuned in. This morning we have Dr. Ajishola Omojeje, senior lecturer senior lecturer, African History, Culture and Historiography, Department of History and Diplomatic Studies here, AFUED, Ondo State, as we discuss Nigerian economic woes, impacts of poor infrastructural investments, and its general analysis. Welcome on Daybreak Africa, Doctor.
It's a pleasure.
Yes, it's been a while. So the last time we saw you was almost 3 months ago that we saw you. How's it been? How is Nigeria treating you?
It has been fine. It has been fine. Nigeria is gradually moving from a stage of developing to developed. So Nigeria is passing through a kind of metamorphosis.
You know, there's something that really tugs at my heart. You know, when I take a look around the country, knowing the country I come from, knowing the human and natural resources that resides here, knowing the mental capability of a Nigerian, not just in the country, anywhere the sun shines, in the world we shine. Right now, everyone wants to be a Nigerian, either by our culture, by our food, our dance, the way we look, the way we talk, the way we move, our confidence, our intelligence. Yet, a country as huge, the biggest, largest black nation in the world.
The world, yeah.
Yet, we are being referred to as developing. Where countries that don't even have the resources that we have, 1/10 of what we have, are thriving. And people from here are rushing to go to those countries. It's a paradox, you would agree.
Yeah, exactly. It is because of the fact that we do not, let me not say we, the leaders from time immemorial do not prioritize what's supposed to be done. And then they pay lip service to some of these things that might enhance development. And then when we talk of corruption, corruption is everywhere, but the way we go about it. But look at greed and avarice, unnecessary nepotism. That is exactly what is making things to be difficult, and that is exactly what is making Nigeria at this period to still be referred to as a developing nation. Ordinarily, nations that does not have even a quarter of what Nigeria is boasting of, they have developed. Look at Singapore. For God's sake, look at countries that cannot produce a standing army during peacetime. Before the First World War, for crying out loud, countries like Belgium, countries like Sweden, countries like Denmark, they were so backward at that time. But because of good ingenuity, because of good leadership strategy, because of good government, then they made themselves. Look at what Lee Kuan Yew turned Singapore to. Go and read this book from third world to first. Even India, that was called a third world country when Nigeria obtained independence, for God's sake. India is making waves now. So it's as a result of, ordinarily they were saying that colonial vestiges, all this kind of thing, but for how long should we be basking in that euphoria? We should prioritize our education, prioritize our agriculture, prioritize the way we do things, and that will enhance a lot of sporadic development. I was watching a documentary on the Chinese children. If you see from a very small level, I can even call it the embryonic age, they were making themselves to be functioning in the kind of education that those children were passing through. At every level of education, you see functionality there. But when compared to that of Nigeria or Africa, you see them tending towards unnecessary religiosity. Unnecessary religiosity without spirituality. And so that is exactly what is making it to be like a nation that is not even developing, that is making a lot of motion without movement.
Now, talking about development, it's been, asserted that different school of thoughts on the issue. Some will say for, some would say against. That the foundation for economic development is the infrastructural capability or the infrastructural investment that has been done in that nation at any time. Where does infrastructural development come into all that you said? If we use Nigeria as a case study, if we should begin from there, because you've mentioned Singapore, you've mentioned India, you mentioned a lot of countries. Most times when we'll talk about a country like Malaysia that came to pick up a seed, palm oil, palm kernel seed, when they were looking for an avenue for development. They came here, didn't know anything about it.
They were given 20 seedlings.
So, and today, the disparity between then and now, Malaysia and Nigeria, even in the palm oil that we'll talk about, is huge. Where does or how does infrastructural development come into play when you talk about the foundation for economic development?
Thank you. First, the Malaysia you mentioned, you can't compare Kuala Lumpur to either Abuja or Lagos now, because it's a gulf. The difference between them is a gulf. Just 20 seedlings. Now the thing, the development of the economy of every nation depend on the level of investment in its infrastructure. There is no way in which a nation can develop without having an upsurge or heightened infrastructural development. So let's put it, if infrastructure is deficient in a country, it will have a kind of, it will mar the economy. There's no doubt, just like Nigeria. You discover that for a nation to develop very well, foreign direct investment will have to be at play. There must be inflow of FDI, like the economics will say. There is no way in which a nation will develop on its own without having a kind of affiliation with other nations. And that is where comparative cost advantage comes in. And all those things are what build the gross domestic product. One minister, or say it, Babalola, I don't know, one minister of state at some time said that for Nigeria to grow very well, that we will even need about 100 billion of its gross domestic product to be built on infrastructure, to be invested in infrastructural development. And it is then that Nigeria can. You will discover that the kind of national development plan that Nigeria is still boasting of this period is still the one that was planned between 1970 and 1974. When other nations have been taking, and Nigeria is saying, Nigeria said the other time that that she wanted to be one of the top 10 strongest economy by 2020. What year are we now? This is 2024. Are we one? So it is as a result of the fact that there has never been a development of viral infrastructure. And if you look at it, a nation that cannot boast of 24 hours uninterrupted light, where do you think that foreign investment will thrive? Look at what Nigeria doesn't have a viral security network to combat insecurity. Look at roads. When I was coming, the driver was even complaining that the roads are bad here. Road to Lagos, road to Abuja, road to Kogi, road to where you take oil, road to where, everything. Look at Ajaokuta, where steel supposed to come in abundance, where they are supposed to be effluent inflow of steel to manufacture. Where do we see? So all these things are what brings about underdevelopment. In fact, to say underdevelopment self is another thing. So there is no way in which the nation can develop without investing in infrastructure, and that is where infrastructure comes in.
When you started initially, you passively made mention of a sentence. You said, we are religious people without spirituality. Currently, we see youth, we see people coming out to propose that our major challenge as a nation is religious leaders, religious organization. Basically, religion has been our downfall. Someone has then proposed. I don't know if you share that sentiment or that sort of thought.
That religion
has been our major hampering factor then to hamper our development as a nation.
Well, that is it. We tend to believe in excessive prayer more than development, more than education. You see our tertiary institutions now. Classes are being turned to churches. You see stores, shops, and mighty buildings that were mighty edifices that were being constructed to cater for prayer, for supplications, for all these things. So we tend to build our own mind towards religiosity and not spirituality, because they are two different things. And so if we believe, the Bible said walk and then pray, but we pray. You need to watch the documentary that I told you. From infant, they were graduated to adolescent, from adolescent to middle ages, from middle ages to, and all those strata is prayer, all those kind of things. But in China, they graduate in terms of building infrastructural development, making them functional. So it is not that religious leaders that are our problem, but unnecessary religiosity. And that is, we tend to, it is not like that. Yes, there might be churches, yes, there might be prayer, but when you see a viral man on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, going to the mountain to pray, for what? Instead of you using your hand, and the Bible said walk and pray. So there is no way, in as much as we believe in all these things, that God will do everything with us sitting down. No, it's supposed not to be like that. Things cannot work.
So we have persons, some sects claiming we are underdeveloped. We have some other sects claiming Nigeria is a developing nation. But I guess one thing the both sects tend to be agreeable upon is that our economic is stagnated. I think to wonder, do you believe our economy is stagnated, and what do you think are those underlying causes of our stagnation?
Yes, whether it is underdevelopment or developing, it is still there. It is euphemism they are using. The real thing is that we are not developed. Whether it is under or developing, it has not developed. So, and the problem is one, greed. Well, we can call it, the greed now has varieties that comes from the same morpheme. Parochialism is one. That is when you tend to favor those that come from your place. Ethnocentrism, ethnicity, nepotism, all these things. So these are things that are, for instance, when they say quota system, when they say catchment area, so which means if I score 180, or if I score 100, and I come from an educationally disadvantaged state, and then I score 70, so I will be picked. But in an educationally advantageous state, if very many of them score 300, they will not be picked. What becomes what they want to turn out. So these are things that really mar a kind of development. Then corruption. Excessive corruption. Corruption has become like a egregious graft that festers with decent ferocity in Nigeria. You see a person, just because he has opportunity to be, given a leadership role in politics, he will want to amass wealth that his sixth generation will still be using, forgetting that he will die. Look at Yaya Bello. Look at what Yaya Bello is doing. Look at what Emefiele did. Look at what Afe Balogun did. Look at what Abakari did. Look at what very many of them. It's not that I'm the one that is saying it. We are all witness to all these things. But and then the fact is that they did all these things with proven impunity. In a situation whereby somebody is nabbed for embezzling trillions of naira, and the court will make a verdict that he should go and pay 2 million naira, and then he will go. In a situation whereby somebody is jailed even abroad, by the time he comes, he will be given tumultuous welcome, and he will be given multiplicity of chieftaincy title. If A steals and then he goes away with impunity, it will be a kind of sublime encouragement to others to do the same thing. Politics in Nigeria has become a kind of an exposition of the complexity of man. Career is not open to talent. There is no open door policy. It is only your cronies that you give. What is bringing this issue of we want to protest, we want to do this thing, is as a result of imbalance in the sharing formula. Some people are eating, they were being obese, like inflated fagot, and some people were like skeleton of a dead ass. And then they were saying it's supposed not to be like that. So people were becoming disgruntled because there is no equity in the sharing formula of the wealth of the nation. So that's it.
Now talking about infrastructural development and its effect on economic development also, while I was doing the research, I discovered that you could actually break it into three. Of course, those three parts have fingers that lead to other branches, and it goes on and on like that. I discovered there's material infrastructure, there's institutional infrastructure, there's personal infrastructural development.
There's even human capital development.
And in the material, I discovered that we could include energy, housing, transportation, water, sanitation, information and communication technology, which can actually go on and on and on. Again, you could actually still view it in terms of the size and growth of government expenditure, because you can't talk about infrastructural development without taking a look at the size of government expenditure is the decision to provide basic amenities, not just ordinarily, but giving its people the best, which is what everyone deserves, especially from a nation so blessed like Nigeria. So let us begin by breaking down the necessities. When you talk about infrastructural development, like what you mentioned earlier, we're talking about good roads, we're talking about healthcare, we're talking about security, we're talking about housing, the basic education, water. As an historian, as one who is into actually relaying the past, tracing the past to the present, so as to chart a course for the future. Let us take a journey back, taking a look at government past and government present. In your own words, how do you think government past decisions taken in terms of infrastructural development in the nation has affected government present so far?
Oh, that the government in the past has affected.
How has government in the past, the decisions that they took in terms of infrastructural development, what, in your view, that was, and how is it affecting what we have today?
Good. There is no gainsaying the fact that the first tiers of government we have in Nigeria planned the country well in terms of infrastructural development. You will discover that we have granite pyramid in the north, then the west has its own kind of development. You know that even before 1960, that the government of Awolowo was premier of the west, established the Oduduwa conglomerate that set up banks, when a bank, then the marketing board, then the stadium and everything. All those things, it was as a result of them that the national stadium and other roads, many things were, built. They had a kind of projection that Nigeria would be great. But it was a kind of regional government at that time, and each region were striving, to be at par with other regions. Decision then, but decision became changed when the military came, and Nigeria was unified. Instead of regionalization, it became a kind of unified system of government. So and the decree enacted then. So the kind of development then, if it were to be going at that pace, Nigeria wouldn't have been where it is. You will discover then that a lot of foreign investment were in Nigeria. We have John Holt, we have K. Chelaram, we have Leonard, we have Michelin, and then Singer, and very many of them where they were building the development of Nigeria on that foreign direct investment. So, and at that time there were private sectors that were participating in public infrastructures. That is it. So, for instance, now look at our roads. The Afonso, Taylor Woodrow, that used to come. Even this construction company now, Julius Berger. So, but as a result of the thing just changed, whether it is military, and the military now changed gear to the civilian as from 1999, but the same thing is still happening. It's like what I have said earlier on, that unnecessary priority and then greed and avarice has paved the way for infrastructural decay in Nigeria, and that what is making Nigeria not to be developed at the pace it's supposed to be.
Now, many tend to believe reliance on oil exports contributed to economic challenges in the country. But I tend to really ask, I know there was a time where agriculture tended to, garner a lot of revenue from Nigeria. We have Ministry of Commerce, we have Ministry of Agriculture, we have Ministry of Tourism. Is it more like it came to a point where oil tends to garner just enough revenue, but not really on the part where the government themselves tend to pay more or extra attention just to the oil export, and then in many people's mind desert other sector? Do you believe it's more like it was more like a time came for agriculture to boom and it had it boom, a time came for the oil sector, it had his, and maybe at this point it's no more time for the oil sector to give us that revenue, and now we have to look forward to another one? Or is it
boom are we go? Where are we going now? We had agriculture, we had oil. Which boom next?
It is not that oil is not. Oil is still there.
Well, maybe not as expected.
The oil is there, even as more than as expected. For instance, now many of the wells have not been tapped. Many of the crude there have not been tapped. Look at Agbabu here. It is said that the fishes, stockfish in Agbabu, that it can, it can sustain Nigeria for more than 300 years. And all those things are still there. What of bitumen? What of the products? We are talking of petroleum. What of the products that...
The byproducts.
Yes, byproducts of the crude oil. Then that apart, let's talk of agriculture. When you are traveling from Ondo to Lagos, you will see a lot of land uncultivated. What are we doing with it? In our institutions, Adeyemi Federal University of Education in Ondo here, Federal University of Technology in Akure, Adekunle Ajishola University, just even University of Lagos, all those ones.
Doctor, can we see we have the supplies, but we lack demand at this point? Because like I said, there were times we had demand for agriculture, for cocoa and the likes. And
it is not that we lack demand. We had the supply, we do not lack demand. But there is no, there is leadership problem, one. Then there is excessive mismanagement of even what is coming. For instance, look at our government. We are operating presidential system of government, where a chairman will have a PA, the PA of the chairman will have another SA, the SA to the PA of the chairman will have another PA, and that PA will... unnecessary bureaucracy, which they call retapism, is what is making the money to go into the drains. For instance, now we establish ministries, we establish offices. The president, the vice president, and we have the president's wife that has statutory, all those things, and we did not vote. We have the chairman. The chairman is also doing his own. Councilor is own. So it's unnecessary. We have bicameral legislation. We have a House of Assembly that is replete with so these are. It is like what is making this underdevelopment to be growing bigger and bigger is that we create leakages into the flow instead of creating flows of income. We create leakages.
So in essence, we have enough.
We have enough.
Just the issue of corruption or a little bit of mismanagement here and there. All right.
Now, what about the role of accountability in all of this? We'll talk about good governance or sound governance. You talked about corruption and the role it plays in any economy or in any nation. Yeah. What about the place of accountability in all that you've said thus far? Because accountability in Nigeria has become a huge problem, not just in governance, but even in our personal lives. People tend to cover a lot. From year to death, they don't want to even let you in, even in relationships. But we're not talking about personal relationships, we're talking about governance. How has accountability, transparency, affected this development we're talking about?
Yeah, when people, I said it the other time, that in a situation whereby somebody is nabbed for either misplacement or dereliction or embezzlement, all this, and then instead of the person to serve a kind of punishment that will serve as deterrent to the others, he will be covered. Is that, would the person be properly, does the person satisfy the principle of accountability? What the kind of money that is stashed away, is it coming to the economy? So there is no proper accountability, and where there is no proper accountability, development will be a mirage. That's it.
Because I wrote here that accountability lowers corruption, minimizes waste of resources, and of course, all this is a pointer to sound governance.
Exactly. That is if it is done in truth and in honesty. But in a situation whereby, we know we are talking of Nigeria, in a situation whereby such a thing, for instance, now look at the power of immunity given to governors. Okay, so a governor, and then when the power of immunity is removed, and then he is being covered. Up till today, the case of Yaya Bello has not been taken care of properly. And when a governor finishes his tenure, and then he left the office, and then another governor comes, instead of that governor to probe him, they won't probe. He has become a sacred cow. That is not proper accountability. That is why I said that development in a situation whereby we are not properly accountable for. That's why this issue of local government autonomy now, I am seeing a kind of light in it, because the power of immunity is not given to chairman. So the chairman is accountable to people, and people can probe into the affairs of the local government chairman now. So if it is done in truth and in honesty, you will see sporadic development in the starting from the local government. And ordinarily, that is why, if the local government functions very well in terms of providing security, adequate security, mending feeder roads, provide light, street light and other things, and then drainages, all this kind of thing, the issue of good road will become a thing of the past. And then if the governor does not interfere in their affairs again, then the local government chairman will be held accountable for whatever good or bad that he does. So accountability plays a lot of factor in the development of any economy. If operators of the government are properly, if they are held accountable for what they do, then there will be development. They will be alive to their responsibility.
You told us about immunity. We've spoken about accountability, and you just said something now that's very, very germane. The fact that our leaders are not held accountable for decisions that they take, and that's exactly what we're even taking a look at. Decisions taken in terms of infrastructural development, how it has affected our nation as a people, and where people are not held accountable. In other climes, we've seen where, I am not saying that we should imbibe or inculcate or encourage such stands, but we've seen where people that have been in government for years, and they are found to have stolen the commonwealth of the people, they are sentenced to death. They pay with their life, because that money that was stolen was a common money, commonwealth of the entire citizen of the nation. So when we're talking about infrastructural development, and we do not have anyone to hold accountable, where a poor man steals a piece of yam and he goes to jail for 3 years, and people steal humongous amount of money and they barter with them. For 1 million, for 1 trillion naira, you pay a few million naira and you're let to go. How do we develop a nation like that?
But just before you answer that, Doctor, we have to go for the gold start. I know you're already intense right now. You're already feeling it,
hot.
and you. So of course, in our words, let's go for a breather, take some coffee,
yes.
and all that. So
we need it. I'm not taking coffee. I'm going to take water, because I need to calm down the heat, because I could actually feel the smoke coming. I want to thank Ezekiel for calming me down and letting me know that we need to go for that break. So we'll take that break. I'll drink water. Ezekiel will definitely drink tea. I don't know what Mr. Omojeje is going to take, but we have it there. We'll go for that break, and when we return, that question will be answered. Stay with us. Welcome back from that short break on Go Start Business. We encourage everyone to watch that segment and learn something very, very positive, so your pocket too can begin to smile. Initially, we used to say, myself and Ezekiel, this particular segment is for the youth, until one day Ezekiel said, hey, sister, everybody needing money. So that segment is where everybody watch, learn, and so you're financially independent. That's the goal of that breakup. Before we went on the break, anyways, for water, there was a question I asked the guest, the disparity in how do I explain it? In the rule of law,
exactly.
Some people ride it, some people crawl behind a mule, or it's tilted. It's not balanced. Where a man steals a pen or steals 2 bags of rice or gari, he's lynched or he's sent to jail for 15 years. And there are people who steal billions. They have been stealing, and yet nobody is held accountable. You use Yaya Bello. I didn't say he stole because he's innocent until proven guilty. But there is a case, we can't find him. The case is stalled. The accusations are there, and the man won't even come out to say, you know what, I'm bold enough to say I am innocent. Let us take a look at how this affects infrastructural development of any nation. Of course, we're using Nigeria as a case study.
Thank you. You see, it is always said that whenever you want to see, you see the specialities of others. And if at all you want to live, you leave the weaknesses. It is Rudyard Kipling that said that. You see, in other climes, you dare not do it. The structures are there to catch up with you. You are being properly and adequately monitored. So all those things, it's as if here that those structures were not put in place, you know, to check or to checkmate the operators of the government. Then there are no measures put in place to sanction those that are in government, so that they will not go against the law of the land. In a situation whereby someone steals and he is pardoned, it will serve as deterrent, and then it will give such, you know, fear into the mind of those that are coming next. When a governor leaves office, whatever that governor does ends with him. Another governor will start from his own perspective, his own ways, and then he will start to, you know, be doing whatever he likes there. There is no continuation in the programs of a government, and that explains the reason why political parties don't follow their manifesto. So in a situation whereby you do not follow the manifesto, in a situation whereby there is no continuation, for instance, look at what happened in Ondo State. A governor, you know, was elected. He built a diagnostic center. He built schools. Then he has means of transporting students. Another governor gets there. Then all those things became abrogated, became cancelled. So there's no continuity. There is no way in which students that had been basking in that euphoria for 80 years suddenly, and then other students that are, you know, happy that will continue, suddenly stopped. All those neighborhood markets. So in a situation whereby we don't borrow what is good from other climes to do to copy in our own clime, is not good, and that will dwindle the economy more than heightening it. So that's exactly what is happening.
Now, many people tend to consider what is, but personally, I always talk about what's next. I tend to, I'm very curious as to our economic future, considering the rising debt profile currently faced. What does the future speak for economic growth so far?
In terms of borrowing,
Well,
we're still borrowing.
Well, in terms of borrowing,
External borrowing.
external borrowing, yeah, the country has to borrow, but it shouldn't borrow excessively. And country should not borrow to such an extent that it will have adverse effect on its economy.
Don't you think we are there already?
Yes, in a situation whereby you borrow more than your carrying capacity, it is the citizens that will be suffering. Because what we are suffering now is as a result of the greed and avarice of our leaders, and it's as a result of external borrowing. Because Nigeria is being controlled externally as a result of the borrowing. Look at the International Monetary Fund that one of the operators of the government borrowed the other time, and Nigeria is still borrowing, and it is having a toll on us. That explains the reason why the dollar cannot be stable. It is gallivanting between 1,000 and 1,500 naira to $1, whereas it's supposed not to be like that. There was a time it was 70 kobo to $1, and then Nigeria was held in high esteem, especially in America and other nations. So the thing is, the future of Nigeria is bright, because we have the men, we have the population, we have the natural resources, we have a very clement weather. You can predict weather in Nigeria. You can't do that. Nigeria is a kind of country that is sitting on just one tectonic plane. Japan is sitting on 4. You can't predict the weather in Japan. There could be hurricane, there could be volcano, there could be tsunami, there could be things, there could be earthquake. But in Nigeria, such a thing never happened. You can't see, because Nigeria is sitting on just one tectonic plane. It is as solid as that. But those that are sitting on 4, one could be at edge like this, the other could be at edge. So seismic movement can cause the earth to tremor and wreak havoc. God forbid bad thing. If such thing happen in Nigeria, where do we start from? When a whole city sinks, like what happened in Peru and Alaska the other time, like the tsunami, like the hurricane, and all those things. So the God has helped Nigeria, and that is exactly what is making every right thinking person to know that the future of the country is bright. The only thing that Nigeria supposed to get right is leadership.
Talking about leadership, right here you sat down and you talked about our founding fathers. They had foresight about the future. You know, there was something you said that, you know, that touched me. You said our forefathers had the vision that come one day, this country was going to be great.
Yes.
So the decisions that they took, the roadmap, the blueprint, they sat down and they charted the course for a brighter future. But somehow, somewhere along that journey, it was truncated. Now, a wise man once said that no matter how long you go on the wrong road, you will never arrive at your destination. But if you pause, stand and look around and say, you know what, I think I'm on the wrong path, and you turn around and relocate your steps to the right path, then you will arrive at your destination. You talked about military incursion, how it affected that plan. Then again, we're not under the military. We've enjoyed this nascent democracy for a while. The question I'm asking is, if those templates that are still available, that, you know, created a great nation with a hope of a greater future, how come somebody sit down and say, you know what, everyone gather here. Everyone gather here. Let's take a look at this thing again. We've gone too wrong for too long. Let us trace back how Wolowo did it, how Zeke did it, why can't we make such decisions? Why can't we retrace our steps back to greatness, as it were? It's like we are saying the same thing in different ways. Leadership problem is what we have here. Let the leaders get it right.
You see, the operators of government, they know. In a situation whereby there is no spontaneous reaction to advantageous planning. Hope you understand. Before you get to the government, before you are appointed, in fact, you have to pay a lot of sacrifices. By the time you are there, you are left with just two options. It's either you bend or you break. But nobody wants to break. So we have to bend. And that is why William Guterres says that it does not necessarily matter who plays the music. Because it is the players that is changing. The music is continuing unabated. And until, like you have said, I've always been saying it, no matter how far we have gone on a road, if you discover you are wrong, the best thing is to turn back and retrace your step. So that is it. So in Nigeria now, we need proper deregulation, proper restructuring, total restructuring. The government we are operating is a wasteful government. Presidential system of government is as wasteful as it is.
In your opinion, which type of governance or government do you think this country deserves?
Our government should emanate from our culture, from our heritage. It should emanate. We should. You see, democracy now has been like the madness of many for the benefit of few.
The madness of many.
The madness of many for the benefit of few. Whereas it's supposed to be a system of government whereby the majority rule for the benefit of all. So it is structured. The system now is structured to favor some privileged few, and the privileged few are recycling. When you are old, you put your child. If you do not have a child, you put your crony that will protect your interest. Similar thing is playing off in River State. You see what is happening in River State now. Somebody is going, put another person there, protect my interest, and the person does not want to protect his interest now, and saying so they are sending a missile from somewhere to go. So, and before you know, when two elephants fight, it is the grasses that suffer. So if there is proper and total restructuring of the politics, then people will enjoy. Everybody will.
You spoke about corruption, you spoke about mismanagement, the need for proper restructuring, which brings me to the question, how do Nigeria balance the need for fiscal discipline with the need for increased investment in infrastructure and even human capital? How do you really balance this with good discipline?
With good discipline.
Fiscal discipline.
Physical discipline, it could be balanced. See, if there is continuity in government, irrespective of, for instance, now
you just say democracy is nothing to write home about, and if we must continue with this current democracy we are having, I don't think it really will land us towards what's the word you use? You know, if you say if you're taking the route, you always end up the wrong route. You always end up at the wrong place. So we're really working on this democracy. End up nowhere. So why would you continue with this democracy you lay emphasis as?
If it's not working,
if it's not working,
if this
no.
See,
I didn't say democracy cannot work. See,
when you said it's the madness of many for the benefit of few.
I said the kind of democracy we are practicing.
Okay.
Exactly.
Is the madness of many for the benefit of few. It should be changed to a system of government whereby the majority rule for the benefit of all.
We spoke about having continuity in this present state.
That is why I say if there is good manifesto, if there is good plebiscite, and it is being if a government structured a program, put up a program, but because he cannot finish it, that program shouldn't be abandoned by another government that is coming, whether it comes from your party or not. That is exactly what, for instance, now it's a laudable program when school children are being transported to their various destinations. It's laudable. All of a sudden, I enjoyed that when I was in secondary school. I enjoyed that. The
through
secondary
transportation.
through transportation, we paid. Then we paid 13 naira at that time for 13 weeks. 1 naira 1 week, 5 kobo to 5 kobo through. So it's 13 naira, 13 weeks. And I would just trek a little distance. I would just a stone throw.
To go to the bus stop.
To go to the bus stop. The bus would transport me to the... So the issue of lateness to school stops. By 7 o'clock, the bus will start. And by 7:45, and then when we close, we'll come back. So it's a laudable achievement, but in the situation whereby so it's supposed to outlive a government. That is what makes, for instance, now even in the US, in England and others, they celebrated 300 years of a road network. There are roads that has been built during the time of Oliver Cromwell in the 17th century, and they are still there. So in a situation, so programs should outlive a regime. That is when, and then proper persons should be put in proper places to man things properly. So if round pegs are put in a round hole, not necessarily because it comes from my own domain, it comes from your own domain. So if round peg are put in rectangular hole, then there will be, that's why I call misplacement of priority. And in a situation whereby we mismanage things, we do things haphazardly, and then there will not be. So if democracy is practiced according to our own culture and tradition, it will become a system of government where the majority rule for the benefit of all. You know that even before the coming of this Western world, our traditional leaders, they have been basking in the euphoria of traditional setting, and they were going on.
Now, we know the government by themselves can't do it alone. So we tend to advocate for public-private partnership relationships.
Yeah, I said it the other time.
But at this point, you did say it, but why not we use the Dangote refinery situation as a case study? It's more like the public-private partnership is not really moving as expected. Who are we to blame at this point? Is it the government? Is it we as a people? Or what can we, because if this is not really giving out a good example, I don't see a private person, coming out to say, okay, I want to join the government in this and therefore join the government in doing this anymore.
When you say, is it we or is it the government? For God's sake, it is not the, when you are talking of people, you are talking of people that are really there.
People that are really there.
People that are really there are the helms of affairs. For instance, now, it is the government that put people there at NNPC. Now, look at what the government said now. I think there is a law now that says NNPC should sell to Dangote. Now, look at electricity. Is it the people that sells electricity to their cronies that becomes that become electricity companies? All these things, they sold it to their cronies, and then they were doing it the way they like. Let the government functions very well. Let there be proper functionality. People that you are saying people, it is the government that will tailor people to the right path. If you, for instance, during Buhari's regime, at every bus stop, you have to queue. And people were generally grown accustomed to such situation until the coming of another military man who relaxed the rule. Naturally, people are like gods. They will not willingly drink water until you press them. A little dose of force is necessary even in democracy. Not that you be draconian, not that you be dictatorial, but a little dose of force. Because naturally, people want to, perpetrate evil. Then you force them. That explains the reason where there should be measures put in place to call people from doing such a thing by making some people scapegoats, irrespective of whose ox.
But don't you think with what is going on with the brouhaha with between Dangote and whoever, this tends to actually discourage private entrepreneurs from really wanting to invest into the country?
Of course, it will. That is why I'm saying that such an ugly situation shouldn't come. And it's as a result of the fact that Dangote refinery, if it comes, definitely it will affect the sales of some people. But some people are also accusing Dangote of being unnecessarily monopolistic. For instance, so it's like they are tackling themselves, but all those ugly situations should stop in the interest of the masses, so that the masses will enjoy.
Now, before we went further into the discussion, you were talking about regional governance and how it was in the past and how regions, competed in terms of development, taking a cue from each other. You also talked about cocoa in the west.
Granite pyramid in the south,
in the
cotton, all those things.
Yes, and stuff like that. So do you think, because there are people that are calling and advocating for us to return to regionalism, I want to ask you if it's like taking us back in time, or do you think that when we talk about going to the drawing board or taking a look at the blueprint of our forefathers and finding solution to a better future for Nigeria, do you advocate that we take a look at regionalism once again?
To the best of my understanding, I think the way I see it, even the present government is doing that. The way I'm seeing it. Now, people may not look at it from that perspective, but what is the essence of returning us back to the old national anthem?
Okay.
It's like returning. We have returned to 1960, and what operates in 1960 must operate. So we are starting from there.
Beyond the national anthem.
Yes,
what else? What else from the 60s?
I just used that national
anthem. I understand. I understand. So, for you to say that is where we are headed at, you will have proof beyond the national anthem, the return to the national anthem.
No, I just use that. What I'm saying is that we should be thinking of using the yardstick of those days to build or rebuild our nation. No, it is not that we are going back there.
Okay.
But when we sing the national anthem, we'll have a reminiscence of what happens there. A kind of nostalgic feeling of the past. That, then we'll now be thinking that, let us do it the way they have done it then, so that Nigeria, then what are the ways? So the way will now come. If it is regionalization, it may not be that we will say north, go east, all those kind of, but there should be comparative advantage on what comes from your own region. Whether we like it or not, there are states are richer than the other. You cannot compare Bayelsa with Kogi. You cannot compare Ondo State with Zamfara. And you cannot compare Lagos State with Ekiti State. And so, but each state, each region, each section can be helped to produce in maximum and optimal quality or quantity what it can produce. And then there will be comparative advantage over others. So that is it. So so that in such a way that this agriculture should be, really revamped. For instance, in Israel, every Israeli is a soldier. Do you know that every Israeli is a soldier? And you have to serve the country for a certain number of years before you are left alone. In Nigeria also, every Nigerian can also be a farmer.
No, I was shocked. I was almost shocked. I thought you were going to say, so every Nigerian should also be a soldier.
Not be a soldier.
How?
We should prioritize agriculture so that you farm, I farm. When you plant tomato and I plant tomato and you plant tomato, then the price of tomato will come down. And I said it, Nigeria has a very good land and clement weather. And so that is it. We can successfully, the government can partner with the people, private can partner with the government, and then by the time things goes on, then the government function very well in terms of, putting up very good template for infrastructural development, and that will bring foreign investment.
It's good.
We know.
Yes.
Oh, please go on.
Yeah, sorry. No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I understand our atmosphere, the condition right now is not really conducive for private sectors. I wonder if there could be incentives or something the government could do to probably encourage private sector. If it means probably take away tax, from them maybe a year or two, if that could be incentive enough.
Tax, yes, but before foreign investment could be on the upsurge in Nigeria, there has to be proper development of basic infrastructures. We have to have good road. All those things will be added. These are incentives that could be given, tax-free, duty-free, all those kind of things. Yes, but in a situation whereby you cannot boast of good electricity supply, in a situation whereby roads, cause accident and accident things to them, in a situation whereby the country is not even secured for them, they will kidnap, and when they kidnap them, they pay ransom for how long? So all those things the country has to be made to be very, very stable, conducive for direct foreign investment before all these incentives could be given.
Well, let's not forget even foreign investment tend to have their potential benefits and setback. I mean, just the other day we were talking about the clause added to the funds accrued to Nigeria. At some point we were really debating. I think it was with Sam Olorfemi, I guess.
Yes.
We're debating on certain clauses and what they stood for and how we tend to challenge our culture and as a people. Now, to some extent, if you look so much towards foreign investments, don't you think we will have certain drawbacks or tend to sign certain things that will end up hurting us in the future?
Now, let me add to that also as we round up, because we do not have time. As you answer that question, please, also, what is the next step of action to take? Because time is really against us right now.
It's all right. The fact is that priorities have to be put on building infrastructure from the government. That one is we cannot totally rely on foreign investment. At least cottage industries, indigenous industry also should also be encouraged. There's no doubt about that. But whether we like it or not, for home industry to grow or foreign industry to grow, there should be basic infrastructure, and that is what government should put prayer on.
Yes, so that's all time we'll allow on the show today. We appreciate you so much for being on the show.
It's a pleasure also.
Yes.
Well, we want to thank you for staying with us thus far on today's episode of Daybreak Africa. You do have a great day ahead. I remain Ezekiel Ogar.
I am Anire. Stay positive. Oops. that is a pun. Take it easy and bye for now.